Welcome to Debug Diaries by CSE, a podcast where we dive deep into the world of technology with some of the most influential minds shaping its landscape. Join us as we explore the past, navigate the present, and envision the future of innovation and technology. Today, we are honored to introduce a trailblazer in Sri Lanka's technological sphere, Mr. Dhanika Perera. As the founder and CEO of Sri Lanka Private Limited, Mr. Danika has been instrumental in bridging the digital divide in Sri Lanka through innovative solutions. His notable creations include Helakuru, an app which has empowered over 10 million Sri Lankans to communicate digitally in Sinhala, and PayHere, the country's first central bank approved payment aggregator platform, facilitating online transactions for over 3,500 local businesses. So, good afternoon, Mr. Danika. We are very glad to have you on our show today.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me today.
So, before we start off, you are a well known face for almost all of our viewers. But for those unfamiliar, could you talk a bit about yourself?
Okay. So I would like to introduce myself as a very simple person, but try to see things differently and make an impact, social impact through the entrepreneurial uh, mindset.
Right. So you are one of the well-known graduates of the Department of Computer Science at the University of Moratuwa. So could you tell us a bit about what was it like in being a CSE student in the early 2010s?
Yeah, my actually journey started, very accidentally. I became an entrepreneur, but to that accident to happen, CSE actually played a major role. What happened was now I had that spirit or mindset to do new things, experiment new things and stuff. Uh, and when I uh, came to University of Moratuwa and got selected to Computer Science and Engineering department, it was where actually uh, I actually did something impactful because of an opportunity that I got. So that opportunity was actually the individual project that every CSE student has to do at their third year, right? So when that project came, I that with my motivation to do new things, I actually did a innovation. So I was so passionate about Sinhala language from my childhood, from my school age. So with that background also, I created something which enables Sinhala reading capability, which gives Sinhala reading capability on smartphones for the very first time. So that was actually the turning point of my entire life, where I converted from an engineer to an entrepreneur, right? So it's a crucial role that CSE played there.
So when we're talking about your conversion from an engineer to an entrepreneur, there are probably some fundamental qualities that you would have learned from the Department of CSC or some experiences that you had that shaped your future as an entrepreneur. So
Exactly.
could you talk a bit about what you learned, what experiences that you gained from the Department of Computer Science?
Yeah, of course. So always the department inspired us, motivated us to push our boundaries. So that is actually the biggest impact, I think, compared to all other educational institutes and all other universities. UOM and CSE has that benchmark in the industry, always actually put that boundaries higher. Right. So we were always motivated, especially my head of the department, Mrs. Vishaka Nayanakara. So she and the entire staff always actually inspired us to do our best and uh, be the best of us, right? So that was actually the inspiration behind that. And in addition to that, in terms of actually the education that we got, we always were trained well and educated well on a variety of broader areas, which the computer science and computer engineering spreaded up, so that actually it enabled us, even when we pass out and when we go to the industry, even in my entrepreneurial journey, to quickly learn new things and adapt to them fast. So that was actually the major, impact that the CSE department did to me. For an example, now after I launched Helakuru, and then actually I ventured into another area with PayHere, fintech area, right? So I was not actually, I didn't have any background in finance, any background in accounting or banking, right? But right now I'm actually a CEO of a payments company as well, right? So that capacity I could build to learn anything very fast and adapt to it and perform on it. I think that capacity was built due to the with respect to uh, the department and the university.
So that is a very inspiring story. And talking about pushing boundaries, early on our podcast, we had Professor Gihan Dias, another individual who had broken
Yes,
boundaries in the technological world here in Sri Lanka.
exactly.
And we know that some of his early work was developing the Unicode for the Sinhala language.
Of course.
And your app, Helakuru, as well, is something along that field. So, do you think that having learning from Professor Gianda is here at the University of Moratuwa gave you some better insights to help you develop your application and your company in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Professor Gihan was very friendly even at that time. So when I was passionate on Sinhala, I always actually, inspired by the work Professor Gihan and other, academia had done to standardize Sinhala language, Sinhala Unicode, and all that. And even when I got that idea for my project to give the Sinhala reading capability on the smartphones, I consulted Professor Gihan on that area, so he helped me a lot. So having an expert on my passionate area was very helpful for me, especially when I encountered challenges. Right, I got his help even personally, and Miss Shehani Marcus was actually my supervisor. So both of them helped me a lot for my university project. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been actually accidentally converted today as an entrepreneur.
That is also a very interesting story to hear about how we stand on the shoulders of giants, isn't it?
Exactly,
So I think
exactly. So it's the first time that I'm sharing these university time stories.
so you mentioned many times that you accidentally transitioned from an engineer to an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So could you elaborate a bit more on the story of how you started your project and how it ended up becoming the Helakuru that we all know and use today?
Yeah, of course. So what happened was now the passion for Sinhala language and Sinhala characters, Sinhala fonts were there with me from my school age. So even in school, uh, I made a little piece of software called Manave. At that time, I didn't know anything about programming or anything, but just using an animation software by drag and drop and all that, I made the little thing. But I could actually get even the Young Computer Scientist Silver Award during my A levels. So that passion guided me when I got into CSC. I actually, did a huge, dedication to got into CSC as well, because at that time it was the second most, marks needed department, right? So I was not much actually a bright student at that time. So actually I had to do literally push my boundaries actually to get into ECSC. So after that, actually, as I mentioned, I had to do the individual project, and for that I selected an area related to Sinhala language, and then I made it with the passion and with the support of the department and people like Professor Gihan and Dr. Shahani. I actually could do that. And what happened after that? I got a good grade for that project, but I didn't stop that project and continued after that, right? So continued means I got to know that it was the first time that such solution was developed for an Indic language like Sinhala. And then I actually extended that support for Tamil languages as well. And due to I did for Tamil language, it became popular in India also, right? So in this, a few Indian media also has featured my product, as it was the very first time that Tamil language rendering support was given to Android at that time. So that I that's where actually I started to identify that, okay, what I did has some potential, okay, right? And there was a South Asian award in India. It was called M Billion. So I applied for that award with my project, and there I got recognized and I won an award uh, in M inclusion category, right? And the same stage, it was actually a competition between, not between actually undergraduate, but between all the 7 countries, all the companies, all the any individual, anyone could actually apply. So there was some company, telco company in Sri Lanka. Uh, Today it's not no longer there, so I can mention the name, Etisalat. So Etisalat actually, one of their products also got recognized. They also got an award from a different category, right? So myself being just an undergraduate, winning an award in the same stage, they identified the potential of my product and they offered me a business opportunity, right? So I could actually then, my product was called Set Browser. I developed it as a web browser, mobile web browser, which supports singular rendering. So Set Browser, they took it and make it available for all the subscriber base, and I could negotiate a loyalty based revenue model so that every download I could actually gain a revenue, right? So that was actually the story behind that, and I did. So when I got that opportunity very accidentally, I thought, no, okay, I'm not going to do it as a person, but I will start my own business and do it as a business deal, right? So that's how Basha was registered when I was in the third year in the university. And because of that deal, Basha was actually profitable from the day one, right? So that I could actually build a bootstrap without any external investment. I could reinvest the own profit that I made through that product and grow the company up to the level today we are.
So, as interesting that as that is, you built a tech company that addresses language and cultural challenges.
Exactly.
But many people have a problem with having a great idea, but making that into a product is a big challenge that many people face.
Yeah.
You probably have faced an even large challenge of making the idea into a product which addresses the Sri Lankan demographic. So I'm pretty sure you would have had tenfold more of the problems that a normal entrepreneur would face. So how did you navigate these challenges, and what do you think? What would you advise for future entrepreneurs?
Of course. So, I mean, making software for Sri Lanka is actually a totally different story, right? I mean, we have, and we had many great companies, IT companies in the country who actually built for other countries. But building a product for Sri Lankan market, targeting Sri Lankan market was actually solely a different story, right? So, but my belief was uh, an idea, any new product, actually, if we can actually solve a problem, solve a real world problem that is faced by the people, right? That product will be organically adapted to them, right? So that was actually my vision. So the very first problem that I identified was actually this language problem, which caused a digital divide between, Sri Lankan people, right? Uh, Access to IT, access to digital services was very limited due to this language barrier. So I wanted actually to tackle that problem and make IT services, make digital services available in our mother tongue, in Sinhala and Tamil, for the masses. So that's why actually I put the vision for Basha in the very first time, stage, as empowering masses digitally. So it's actually our vision even now. So we worked on empowering masses digitally from that day one, and continually innovated. We started with language problem, and then we started with information, uh, taking information, reliable, verified information to people. That was actually another problem that we addressed. And right now, our news brand, Esana, has become the de facto way of getting information for all of the population, all of Sri Lankans, right? And then actually we tackled the payments sector. So Sri Lanka was way behind in terms of digital payment adoption, right? Compared to India, our neighbor, we are still so behind, and we saw this, language barrier is a problem for that as well, and the complexity of the solution, the existing solution. So that actually we tackled for that problem as well, having localized, giving a localized user experience for the users and a very simplified experience. And that's how our payments brand HelaPay came into the picture. And for businesses, we identified another problem, that most of the online businesses didn't have a proper way, accessible way to accept online payments, and we built a merchant-based payment brand as PayHere to tackle that problem. So when we actually address a real world, valid problem, we don't have to do actually push marketing, right? We don't have to push it to the users, but those who have that need organically comes to us if we could actually successfully solve that problem for them, right? That was actually our approach. So it was challenging always, but with trial and error, we had actually, all of our successful products, but we had some failure products as well, right? It's actually in our cemetery now, digital cemetery, but there were so many products that we failed, right? So it's that kind of a journey, and also a major challenge when it comes to introducing solutions for Sri Lankan market is actually finding a business model, right? Because normally in our people's mindset, most of the time they think software is free, right? Because we are not actually used to use any software uh, by paying for it, right? So in that case, monetizing the products and making a sustainable business model was actually a crucial challenge we had to bear. And that also, we did some trial and errors. Something went wrong, some actually went success, and we got to know the emotional needs of our users, right? For an example, Helakuru, for about 4 years, we didn't have any revenue, right? Because it was initially just a keyboard, and there was very less opportunities to monetize a keyboard. We can't even show an advertisement, right, in a keyboard experience, right? So that we tried many things, but ultimately, what got successful is actually very emotional feature. This keyboard themes, right? Putting your loved one's photo behind the keyboard. Likewise, so it was a very local, even a local need, a local demand. We could actually tap as our business model, right? Uh, so that's it.
So I think that is a great insight on that differs from how normal software engineers think. Like we think, okay, I have an idea, I'm going to make a product. But
Yeah,
I think the best solution, as you mentioned, is you find a problem and then make a software that addresses the problem. So I
exactly.
think that is a great piece of advice that our software engineers, our entrepreneurs can take for their future.
That's actually, as you correctly mentioned, that's a very, I mean, major mistake that is being done. We always normally, as software engineering mindset, what we see is actually the technology is not okay. This is the highest technology that we have. We can actually push a solution by using this technology. But from consumers' perspective, people's perspective, what matters to them is they don't care what is the technology that we are using, right? If some of the problem is being solved with our solutions, it can be any technology that we use, right? What matters is most is actually whether we are solving a problem or whether we are making their lives easy through the product or service that we provide.
So, as you mentioned, Helakuru is one of the most widely used softwares with over more than half the population of Sri Lanka using it. But you did not stop there. You moved on to HelaPay, PayHere, and you moved your Basha Lanka converted into a fintech company, as you mentioned.
Exactly.
So could you mention like few of the challenges? Because I'm pretty sure there were regulatory challenges. Getting people to use digital payment would have been a struggle. So could you elaborate a bit more on those challenges that you faced and how you overcame them?
Yeah, exactly. Now, after I launched Helakuru, and when that was actually adapting very well, we could actually uh, build as a, being stable as a business, right? Then we identified, okay, some problems that are relevant only to businesses, right? Not for the individuals, not for persons, but for businesses, right? So one problem that I identified as such was, even we as a startup, when we were a startup, we didn't have a proper way to get a payment from our customers, right? From our app users, Helakuru app users, right? As I mentioned before, it was very challenging to find a business model as well due to those practical problems, right? So at that time, the payment gateways available were available only from banks, which were not affordable or not accessible to startups and new businesses, right? There were so many prerequisites and security deposits, all that. So what I identified there, a particular problem for which is related to the business organizations in the country, right? So that's the motivation behind Pay Here. We pay in terms of Pay Here. There's no much innovation on the technology side, but the innovation is actually from the business model, right? Previously, payment gateways available only for large organizations who can afford annual fees, lump sum fees, and annual fees, and the onboarding process was very strict. So wanted to make a startup friendly. Anyone can use, anyone can accessible, anyone can afford a payment facility where the businesses can use it to accept payments from their customers digitally. So that's actually how I built Pay Here at the very first. So since I was a technology person, I built it. I only actually, uh, you know, worried about the technological aspects of that and securing the payment security. And I launched it. Only after I launched it, I got to know that the legal system in the country does not support this. Right.
Right.
So just after 2.5 months, I have to shut down by just a letter from the regulator, central bank. Right. So I had to actually struggle about 1.5 years to get the central bank approval, convincing them actually the need of such solution for the country, right? Because when we were shut down, we already had facilitated more than 200 businesses to accept more than 5 million rupees of payments, right? So with that stats, I could actually go to them and convince them that the country needs this kind of solution and get the legal provision created for this payment aggregator model. And after 2 years, they actually issued a new direction, giving the provision to non-bank parties to facilitate them, and that's how actually we could get central bank approval and relaunch the service. So right now, actually, fast forward, we have processed more than 20 billion rupees of payments through Pay Here, right? So with that experience, I even actually identified with Pay Here experience the problems in the payment industry, right? Initially, it was a problem that I tackled for which I faced as a business, and then going to the industry, I actually identified some of the gray areas and pain points in the payment industry. One of that was actually the cost of an online payment. Cost of accepting an online payment was very high, right? Even now, it's actually average about 3%. So I wanted to actually bring down this cost, and the only option was to reduce the number of intermediaries who actually contributes to facilitate the online payment, and that's where the motivation came to start HelaPay as a 100% local digital payment method. Right, there's no involvement of any foreign processors, card networks like that, so that we could actually minimize the cost of an online payment, right? So right now, HelaPay only charge 1.99% rupees, sorry, 1.99% as the processing fee, which is actually one third low compared to the card payments. So that's the motivation for HelaPay, and I could strategically evolve it or adapt it to the Sri Lankan masses because I already had considerable amount of user base to Helakuru. So instead of launching HelaPay as a separate app, I could leverage that user base of Helakuru to quickly adapt users to this 100% local digital payment method. And due to that, HelaPay got traction very fast. And right now, a significant amount of payments are happening through that as well. And when we when we came mid of our journey with regard to Helakuru, we identified that now our user base grow from 1 million to 2 million to 3 million. Likewise, when the user base grow, we identified that we have a potential to deliver more services to the same audience. And then we started to convert it to a super app, right? Super app means multiple services through the same app. And that's where we introduce our news service, because I was very passionate on the news subject as well, uh, and payment services and such. So that's how we could continue that journey.
So this is a great example of just doing it, where one opportunity gives you many more opportunities. As you mentioned, how you got into Pay Here and then started HelaPay with the experience you got. So I think that is a great example. That
Exactly. Now, most of the new entrepreneurs, what they're lacking is this taking this first step, right? If you can, most of the people have ideas, but what is lacking is execution. If they can execute their idea and start from somewhere, then the journey or the path is automatically being created with the things that you are doing, right? So even right now, we are preparing to facilitate these government payments through the government GovPay initiative, which is to be launched on 7th this month, right? So right now we can facilitate it just one night, because we have already done the previous work
Mm.
which actually needed for that, right? So only when if you do, you get more opportunities coming.
That is a very great insight. And as you mentioned before, we as a country are lagging behind India at the moment in terms of digital transactions, digital identification. Where even you see in India, even the roadside vendor uses their UPI, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So uh, I'm pretty sure that the services your app offers would facilitate the growth of this technology in Sri Lanka. As you mentioned, you are currently helping the government implement their system as well. So, how do you see the uh, future of digitalization in Sri Lanka, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, of course. Now, compared to here, Sri Lanka, India actually went a very different journey in terms of digital payments. Their adoption is very much higher right now, because that adoption was heavily influenced by some of their, government decisions. Right. For an example, when the Prime Minister Modi, when he executed this demonetization, right? People were forced to move to digital options, digital payments. And also when the digital payments were introduced, they actually made the 0%, made the fee 0%, right? So there was no fee for the common man, the street vendors and all that, to accept a digital payment instead of cash. But right now, what is lagging behind in Sri Lanka is there is a cost involved, so that all the benefits of using digital payments for local vendors, SMEs, are being hidden by that cost factor, right? Because what at the end of the day, what they compare, right? Retail businesses and all these small vendors, what they compare is why I should accept a digital payment when I have the opportunity to accept cash at no cost, right? Even the cost is very minimal, it's still a cost for them, right? Until we actually get rid of that cost factor, they don't see the benefits of adapting to digital payments, like, you don't have to maintain cash at all, or all your transactions being recorded in the bank account, so that even when you apply for a loan, it's very easy for the bank to evaluate your business. And there are variety of benefits that they can get through digital payments, but all of them are hidden due to that cost factor, right? So we were actually very much behind in taking that long way forward decisions, right? Long term decision, strategic decision making, we are way behind India. So if we could actually follow the same journey, if we can actually make that fee factor like, 0%, at that time, we could actually came the same journey. But unfortunately, it's yet to be happen. So we hope that even in future, if that can be, that can be cut off, there is a huge potential that Sri Lanka can adopt digital payments even beyond India, because our literacy rate is much higher, our digital penetration, the mobile phone penetration is much higher, and the opportunities are very strong, right? So that is actually the current status of digital payments.
So it was when you were speaking that I remembered the most dreaded phrase that every Sri Lankan hears. Mahatya, cash the card. So hopefully,
Exactly.
with such innovations and digital knowledge that is passed on to the Sri Lankan community, we can implement a system that is useful and easy for everyone to use, and which will lead to strengthening the Sri Lankan economy as well. So hopefully, we will see this change in the near future. With as we can see, many talk about digitalization and all of that, and people like Mr. Dhanika Perera who are working on addressing these issues. So I'm pretty sure Sri Lanka is in safe hands with people like you. So
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed. Yes. So moving on to another topic.
Yeah.
So in one of our past episodes, uh, we so currently when you talk about the world in general, what is everyone talking about?
Yeah.
AI. So we had an interesting episode about large language models, and we
Mhm.
talked about how Sinhala could be used in large language models, how large language models could be used for the Sinhala and Tamil languages. So I'm pretty sure that as someone who is very passionate about this Sinhala language, do you have any ideas, or does Helakuru have any things coming in uh, that arena, I would say.
Yeah, of course. Now, since AI is actually the newest, technological advancement in the world, everyone is looking at ways how to, get the use of AI to our current businesses, current product and services, and make the consumer experience better, citizen experience better using those technologies. So we are also actually thinking of in that aspect, and in future you'll be able to witness some AI features on Helakuru as well. But particularly as we asked about Sinhala, I think that is not a big deal, a big issue for generative AIs, because they are already actually built on large language models, right? So that they are very good at processing natural languages, which was actually a very major barrier before generative AI era. It was actually a very major challenge. Even we had, in terms of translation, only Google Translate was available as a commercially practical solution that can be used for commercial products. But right now, we can see just after few versions of ChatGPT, and even now DeepSeek, the very recent one, they already actually are very fluent in speaking Sinhala, communicating in Sinhala. So if the initial phase is actually this much accurate, there are some mistakes at the moment, but if this much of an accuracy is there right now, even in this very initiation phase of AI technologies, I think, I mean, in the way forward, definitely it won't be a hassle, and it's a great opportunity for us Sri Lankans to get the use of generative AI to, give a much localized experience for the consumers in any kind of solution that we deliver to our consumers. So that will be a great opportunity, and even I didn't expect such a advancement will come in the such a short time, but it has already happened, right? So that it's what matters is actually who gets the use of it first, and who be the leader to drive AI in local language.
So all this time you've spoken about Mr. Danika Perera, the entrepreneur, but we would like to know a bit more about Mr. Danika Perera, the person, and what sort of hobbies and what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Yes, I mean, in personal life, I'm a very simple person. I mean, I always love to listen to music, and also to sing. And even in university time, in every concert that the university organized, and even every carols, even Bhakti Gita programs, I was actually singing there. So after the university time, the opportunities are a little bit less to sing, but always in personal, gatherings and all that. That is actually my, I mean, favorite hobby, and my wife can sing also. So that's a very good value addition. So both of us actually enjoying it, singing in our leisure time.
So hopefully, maybe one of the next episodes we'll get Mr. Dhanika Perera to sing for us and all of you. As we are winding up, I would
Yeah.
like to ask you one final question, which is, you've seen the tech industry of Sri Lanka evolve for over the past 10 years. What do you think it will look like? Do you see a accelerated improvement? And along with the Sri Lankan tech industry, what are your thoughts on Bhasha Lanka for the next 5 10
Yeah, I
years?
think the future is much promising because of these now recent initiatives, especially from the government digitization program. Even very recently, I participated a summit which actually create a lot of digital public infrastructure which can be used by citizens, businesses, uh, the entire society, right? So that actually, I think we are setting up the basics right now, right? Otherwise, until now, what we came was actually there were no basics needed to build up solutions, but those who have to build up solutions have to go through these that basics as well. But if the basics can be provided, the basic digital infrastructure, like a digital identity and digital authentication mechanism, and such open horizontally opened APIs for banks, government institutes, and all the public data. And if such a future that we are expecting, I think the entrepreneurs and the businesses can do a lot value additions using them, right? So with that, actually, I think the technological, aspect of Sri Lanka is very promising, and I'm so positive on that.
So I think that is a great insight, and we all can look forward to the tech developments in Sri Lanka with people like Mr. Dhanika Perera and anyone who is innovating for our country, for producing products for Sri Lanka, for Sri Lankans. So once again, we would like to thank you as we wind up, Mr. Dhanika, for taking time off your very, very busy schedule to be with us and speak to us about your experiences and give some insights and advice to our viewers. And I'm sure that all of our viewers were able to have a basic idea of Miss Danika Pereira's story was like, and get some advice and insights on what they can do on their entrepreneurial journey. So we thank you for being with us and joining us on this podcast. And we hope to see you again on the next episode of Debug Diaries by CSC. Thank you.